June 6th, 2009. I am Andrea Mott. It is a pleasure to conduct this interview for the Dakota Memories Oral History Project in Braddock, North Dakota. Can you please state your full name?
Joseph Leier,
When and where were you born, Joseph?
Kintyre,
When?
August 22nd, 1921.
Have you ever heard an interesting story about your birth?
No,
Do you know if a midwife or doctor was present at the time?
I would presume it was a midwife.
Did they ever talk about that to you, whether or not there was a midwife?
No.
No. Can you please share some of your earliest memories with us? What is the earliest thing you can remember as a child?
Going to church. In the wintertime we went with the sleigh and the horses. And then when the first year of grade school, I stayed with my uncle near the school on account of the distance in traveling. And the next year we went to a different school. And then my third grade we had a school moved in to a mile from our place.
And how far was it to school before they moved it?
When we went to the second school, we had 2.5 miles. We went with a horse and buggy. And we took the neighbor kids along.
So it was a big sleigh?
On the way. I don't think we ever drove with the sleigh, but we drove in cold weather, you know. And one day we got to school and our ears were froze.
So how long with the horses would it take you to get to school in weather like that?
I presume it'd be a half hour.
What did you like about grade school?
Well, in recess mostly.
What kind of things would you do during recess?
Oh, sometimes we played ball, and sometimes we played ante over.
And what is ante over?
Huh?
What is ante over?
That's where you got some people on one side of the building and some on the other side of the building, and you throw the ball over the top of the building. That's ante over.
Okay. So besides playing ball and ante over, what other games would you play?
I don't remember really.
Would you ever do activities inside the schoolroom? Like cards or anything like that?
No. We only had a one-room school with about 25 pupils in there.
What was your teacher like?
The teachers were usually good. They had to come to school earlier, you know, to build a fire.
And what kind of things did you learn at school? What kind of courses did they teach?
We had history, arithmetic, English, penmanship.
Now, did you grow up speaking a language other than English?
No, when I started school, I couldn't talk English.
So at home you were raised speaking German? What were you speaking at home?
German. And my uncle was teacher, and he was real tough.
What did he do?
Well, he caught us speaking German, so he made us write 1,000 times, "I will not speak German."
Did you have to do that frequently?
Well, just that one time, you know. So, I mean, that's it.
Did you do chores before and after school?
In the morning, we got up and done the milking and feed the cows, and then we left for school to be there at 9 o'clock.
And what kind of chores would you do after school?
Well, we had to milk the cows again in the evening and feed hay, grain.
What kind of animals did your family have growing up?
We had cows, horses, pigs, a few pigs.
Chickens or anything?
Chickens, geese. My mother had geese.
What kind of crops did your family have?
We had the wheat, barley, oats, spells.
And what kind of chores would you do out in the field? Like, let's say, starting in the spring, what would you do in the field? What kind of work would you do in the field starting in the spring?
Well, we done plowing with the horses, a 2-bottom plow, and I probably was 8, 10 years old when I sat on the plow. We had 5 horses on that one plow. And then when you hit a rock, you probably bounced off the seat and fell on the ground.
Did that ever happen to you?
One time.
So after plowing, what would you do?
Then we got ready to cut hay.
And what would you do? How would you do that?
We had 2 horses on the mower, a 5-foot mower, and then we cut the hay, and then we had to rake it in rows, and then we loaded it on the hay rack and hauled it home on a big pile most of the time.
And what would you do with the hay rack when you got home? Where would the hay go?
Well, we had a hay rack that was, there was 4 ropes on the floor of the hay rack, and when we got home, we put a cable on that sling and pulled the hay off on the ground or on the stack, and then we had to fork it apart to form a stack.
How long would it take to put them into a stack?
Well, that took several days. I mean, you only hauled a few. You had to pitch it by hand onto the hay rack. And that took several days to haul a few loads.
And so after you raked the hay and put it up in the barn, what did you do after that?
Then harvest time was getting close.
And what would you do at harvest time? Can you explain what your family would do during harvest?
I mean,
Like the process, what did they start with?
well, we had a machine that you called a header, and then you had a box built like a header box, they called them, and then you put four horses on the header, and the header cut the grain and put it up in the header box. And then when the box was full, or once every round, you unloaded the grain on a little stack. And then when that was all done, then thrashing come along. Sometimes we binded the grain instead of heading it.
And what did you do when you bound the grain?
We bound the grain, and then the bundles fell on the ground, and then you set them upright so the grain was on top. They call them shocks.
And would you go back and pick up the shocks?
When thrashing come around, we had hay racks and pitched the bundles onto the hay rack and hauled them into the trash machine.
And how long would it take to do that?
You work day by day, from about 7 o'clock in the morning till most of the time till dark in the evening. Then you unloaded your load by the trash machine, and then you went out the field to get another load. I don't remember how many loads each guy hauled that day. I don't remember that.
But it was definitely a full day's work.
A full day's work all the time.
What was it like for you growing up on the plains? What did you think of it?
I don't know. We just done our daily work, and in 1934, when it was really hot, most in the afternoon, most of the time we stayed in the house till towards evening.
Would you work at night?
No.
What do you remember about the Dirty 30s? What was it like on the farm during that time?
Well, when it got really dry, there was not much to do because the crops didn't mature, the hay was short.
Did you have a problem at all with grasshoppers or jackrabbits?
Grasshoppers, we had a lot of trouble. We got some grasshopper poison from the county, you know, to spread out in the field so they would die. Well, in 1937, there was so many grasshoppers that it kind of shaded the sun out a little bit.
What was it like watching them like that?
Yeah, you just watched them. And then
How badly did they affect the crops?
I really don't know. There was a lot of damage to the crop.
What about the dust? How did the dust affect the farm?
Oh, when the dust full, yes, some days it was really, really bad. It covered some places. It covered a 3-wire fence. You know, the dust.
How did the county do anything to help recover after that? Did they do anything to help you recover, like tree planting or anything?
No.
No.
A lot of people run out of money, and then they had to go to the government to get a seed loans, and I think they had to get some money to buy hay.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a few years, when crops and things got better, you were supposed to pay that loan back to the government again.
And you had to do that? Did you have to do that, or your dad?
My dad, yeah.
And
In the 30s also, there was a government program where you could work WPA. You probably heard of that. Then you had a couple of horses and a wagon, and you hauled sand, gravel.
did you work for the WPA at all?
No,
Did anyone in your family work for the WPA?
no. No, we got out of that. My dad didn't work for WPA. He didn't work for that either.
What about the CCC? Did anybody work for them at all?
No.
The other government agency? No?
Well, I think I would have been old enough, but we never did join the CCC.
Mm-hmm.
Many young people did, though.
Did you have any close friends that joined the CCC?
Yeah, the neighbors, some of the neighbor boys, some of my cousins.
What did they tell you about it? Did they tell you at all about it?
No.
And during this time, how did your parents keep food on the table? Did you get most of your food from the farm?
Most of it's from the farm. Like your cucumbers, your potatoes, and your pumpkin. And then My parents, they probably went to the town to buy groceries once a week. And then they had a little cream, a few eggs, and that was traded for groceries. And sometimes a pair of shoes for the boys. I had a brother that was a year younger than I am. So they saved money, you know.
And how many siblings did you have?
8. There's 7 left. And then the folks had a set of twins. They died when they were just a few days old. They were born at home, you know.
What do you remember about that?
I just remember when that was way back in I was probably 5, 6 years old. I remember when they died and when they buried them.
What was the funeral like? Do you remember anything about that?
I don't remember anything about the funeral. I suppose there was a little service. I don't know. The caskets were all built by a local man out of wood.
Now, what kind of things did you do with your siblings growing up? Would you share in chores, and would you ever play games with them?
Yeah, we played a few games, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And chores, when you were 6, 7, 8 years old, I mean, you helped with chores. You know, we milked in the barn. In the summertime, we had a little fence, I don't know, maybe 40 feet by 40 feet, and you chased the cows in there. And then you sat down and milked them without a stanchion. They just stood there till we were done milking. The cows did.
How long would it take you to milk the cows?
Oh, I don't know, 5 minutes? I don't know, sure.
Did you ever help out inside the house, or were you usually out in the field?
Most of the time we were out. Once in a while, when my mom was sick, you know, then we had to help with dishes and whatever.
How often would your family entertain guests at home?
Not very often. In the evening, a lot of times the neighbors would come over for evening company.
And what would you do when they would come over?
They more or less just visited. Once in a while they played cards. We had a widow lady close by with a bunch of boys and girls growing up. And when we got to their home, then you had good company and a good meal before we went home. Yeah.
So she fed you well.
Evening, you know, before we went home, yeah.
Do you remember what she would make for you?
Well, no. sandwiches and meat, you know, and whatever.
Um, Now, back at the farmhouse, where did you go to the bathroom?
Outside.
Where was the outhouse?
Well, a few yards from the house.
Um,
We
how-
got
oh, okay.
we got a bathroom in the early 40s. In the early 40s, they had remodeled the house some to put a bathroom in the house. And he also bought a generator plant, so we had electricity.
How did that change things?
Well, that made a difference. You know, from kerosene light to a bright light.
Can you tell us about baths? How often would you kids take baths?
Not, not that often. Maybe more or less once a week. Sometimes we had a barrel a ways up from the ground and filled it up with water, and the sun would heat it. That was our bath water. Sometimes we just used the tub with water. And you took a bath and I took a bath in the same water.
Who went first?
I don't know.
With all of you kids, was everybody using the same bath water?
I would presume.
Now, what did your mother usually cook while you were little? What kind of food would she make?
Well, most of the time we had potatoes and meat and some vegetable. Sauerkraut, potatoes, sauerkraut, and meat. We had that a lot. And then some meals we had pumpkin and potatoes mixed something like a stew, you know. We had that. And then we had what they call noodles made out of dough. And watermelon in the summertime.
What was your favorite dish? Your favorite meal?
It was sauerkraut, potatoes, and meat. Usually, that was pork meat. And then we liked the noodles too. We liked stuff made out of dough.
Did you have a favorite dessert?
Not really.
Can you describe the farmstead you grew up on? What did it look like? Do you remember?
Yeah. We had a big square house, 2-story building, with a sun porch on the south side, you know. Now that's all enclosed. And then we had 2 barns, a garage, and then a couple of granaries. We had one, Grandma built a granary alongside of a hill. And then on the west side there was you drove up along and it had a opening where the grain run out onto the wagon. I mean, that was a nice deal.
How did that make work easier?
Huh?
Did that make work a little bit easier for you?
Oh yeah.
How so?
I mean, when the bin was full of grain, I mean, it'd run out to fill the wagon. And after it got lower, you just have to more or less push the grain to the opening instead of shoveling it. So that made a lot of difference, you know.
What type of farming equipment did your family have?
We had just 2 bottom plows and a 10-foot drill up till about the middle 30s, late 30s. And then Dad bought a tractor and a plow to put behind the tractor. Then we plowed the land and used a 10-foot drill with 4 horses to seed the grain.
Did your family have a lot of horses to use for this type of work?
Oh, we had in the neighborhood of 20 horses. You know, for 2 plows it took 10 horses, you know.
So 10 horse plow?
Pardon?
It was a 10 horse plow. 10 horses per plow?
5 horses per plow.
Okay.
5 horses per plow, a 2 bottom plow. And 4 horses for the drill.
What were the positive aspects of growing up on a farm?
Positive attitude.
Aspects? What were the good things about growing up on a farm?
Yeah, that's hard to explain.
Was it maybe the food or...
Well, we always had something to eat. I mean, I know of some families that had very little to eat during the 30s. And then you had Dad bought a different car once in a while, from a Model T to a Model A, and then later on the V8 Ford come out. I mean, that was all. We were happy when something like that happened.
Would everybody fit in the car?
Oh yeah, for church and stuff.
So how many people would you fit in one car?
Well, there was 7. There was 9 of us, you know, with my folks.
Did you go to church every week?
Yes. Yeah. Very seldom we missed a stormy day or something. That's about the only time.
So your family was quite religious then, you would say?
Yeah.
What do you remember about church growing up?
Well, when we went to church, we dressed up, with a suit, sometimes a tie. And then when you got to church, you sat down, you didn't talk, like nowadays everybody talks. And the boys and the men sat on one side of the church, and the women and the girls sat on the other side of the church.
Did you ever get in trouble at church?
No, but if we probably talked or didn't just behave just right, then we probably got a good spanking when we got home.
Did that ever happen to you?
No, we got a good talking one. But I remember one lady went up, her two boys were talking and horsing around, and she went up right during church and spanked them. Yeah, that I remember.
So what church was it that your family went to?
St. Boniface Church, south of Kintyre, Catholic church.
Is it still there?
No, 2 years ago they tore it down. They celebrated 100 years, and then they closed it up.
What was that like?
Well, I wasn't there, but I mean, it was a sad day for a lot of people that still go there. And then where do you go now to church? You got to split up. Some went to Napoleon, some went east of Linton to St. Michael's. They call it St. Michael's Church down by Linton. Yeah, they closed another church a few years back down by south of Napoleon, a Catholic church. They closed that too. The cemeteries are still there.
But no buildings.
No building. The house they burned down. They couldn't sell it, so they burned the parish house down.
Now, did you participate in any religious activities growing up? Like more school or
No.
summer classes or anything? Were you baptized or confirmed?
Well, in them days, when I grew up, you got baptized shortly after birth, as soon as you could.
What about your confirmation?
Confirmation, I was about 9, 10 years old for confirmation. The same church.
What did your parents restrict because of religion? What did they not like you doing because of religion?
Well, I don't know. It was we just had to go to church every Sunday.
Was Sunday dinner or supper different than other days of the week?
A little bit. On Sunday we usually had soup.
Would your mother make anything else that was special on Sundays? Or was it always soup?
Well, soup, I don't know, whatever goes with soup. certain holidays, there was one day in the year, June 5th, we had a church feast. And then some people from different parishes come to the church. And then you probably invited one or two couples, to come to your home for dinner. Then there was a little special meal, That's a long time ago, man. They don't have that anymore.
Times have changed. And I'm going to change topics just a little bit. I'd like to talk a little bit about youth activities and dating and things like that. What types of pastime activities did you participate in during your teenage years?
In what years?
While you were a teenager? What kind of activities would you do?
That's when I went to high school, and we most of the time drove to high school with the car, and we had chores done before we left at 8 o'clock in the morning. And in the evening, we done home and done chores. I mean, we very seldom stayed in town for extra activities.
What do you remember about high school? What was it like?
Oh,
What kind of classes did you take?
well, you had to take geometry and algebra, history, English.
What about sports? Did you play any sports while you were at school?
No. I didn't play basketball, and we were lived out in the farm, and
How'd you get back to work?
most of the time during spring's work, we come home and helped with seeding and whatever. My brother and I, we were kind of lucky to get to go to high school. Many people didn't get to go to high school. One day in the wintertime, we left at 8 o'clock in the morning and got to Napoleon, 14 miles away, at 10:30 in the morning, on fighting snow all the way. Then we stayed in town. Stayed at a place for $8 a month for room and board.
And that was because you couldn't get home.
You're right.
How long were you there?
We were there, one time I remember we were there a month.
So what did you do in town while you were stuck there? Did you and your brother just hang out, or did you hang out with any of the kids that lived there in town?
We sometimes went to a place we knew that for evening company entertainment.
Did that happen at least once a year, or what did you do? How often would you get stuck in town?
Oh, maybe a month or two during the wintertime.
Did that usually happen each year that you were in high school?
Just about every year, yeah.
Did you listen to the radio at all then?
Yeah, I like to listen to radio.
What kind of things would you listen to? What programs?
Oh, Amos and Andy, and some news and whatever was on at that time. I don't remember all the stuff that was on the radio.
Did you ever go to the movies?
Oh yeah.
What did you think about them?
Oh, they were good. I liked the movie theater. 20 cents a night.
How old were you when you started dating?
Huh?
How old were you when you started dating?
Oh, I was quite old. We couldn't, nowadays you get to go when you're little. When I grew up, we didn't get a car to go anyplace till about at least 16 or 8. And then not all the time. I was really 21 years old before I really started dating. Then we went to a dance once a week most of the time. Sometimes more. We had barn dances sometimes, and the granary dance, somebody had an old granary, had music and played on a weekday.
What were those like?
They were loud. They were fun.
How would they set up for a barn dance?
Well, you just cleaned it. Oh, the barn dance, they were real popular at one time. They had a good upstairs, hay mount, a good floor, and good music, and good old-time music then.
Who would come in and play their music?
Well, sometimes they had a bands from Bismarck, and there was a few local people. The Wanglers played music, barn dances, and they played wedding dances.
Can you describe what a typical date was like? What would you do on a typical date?
Date? You probably ask the girl to go to the dance with you, and then you dance. And at midnight, most of the time at midnight, they had intermission for an hour, and then you had lunch. And then you went home.
So how early in the morning did these last?
Mostly till 2 o'clock. The dance usually lasted till 2. And then you went home and slept a few hours, then you got up and done chores. We had a lot of fun.
Did people other than youth attend these dances? Like parents or families, or was it mostly young people?
Mostly young people, except for a wedding dance, See, I went to the dance, and I took the neighbor boys, and another family had one boy. So there was usually 4 of us anyway to the dance. Sometimes, if you didn't have a date, you danced, and you probably asked the girl to go to lunch with you at midnight, and then you danced again, and then she went home when you went home. Nowadays you don't dance anymore, you just stand there and
What kind of dances would you dance?
the waltz, 2-step.
Do you have a favorite?
The waltz is favorite for me.
Were you a pretty good dancer?
No, I was never a good dancer. I like to dance. I still dance.
I want to talk about happy days. How did you meet Barbara?
I think at a dance, I'm not, you know, we we went to dances and she was the dances and well, pretty soon you asked the girl, you know.
Would, will you tell me about the wedding? About your wedding? What was your wedding like?
Well, we got married at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, I think. And then we had a noon meal, and then we danced. Then we had a evening supper. Then we danced again. Then, when it was time to go home, we went home. And then 2 days later, my dad put a wedding dance on at Napoleon. We got married at Sealand. And 2 days later, we had a wedding dance at Napoleon for the Napoleon people.
What was that one like?
That was good.
Was it different than the first wedding dance?
Well, not that much different. It was okay.
Yeah.
We had a local, Joe Wangler played the wedding dance.
Joseph, we talked a little bit earlier about the dirty 30s, so I'd like to move a little bit on from there and talk about World War II. What can you tell us about your memories of World War II?
Well, it was on Sunday afternoon. I was listening to the radio in the house, and I heard when the news come over the radio about Pearl Harbor. And then the next day, President Roosevelt declared war.
Did you hear that that part of the program? Did you hear when he declared war?
Yes. And then the draft started. All the young people had to go for physicals. You know, I went to Fort Snelling in Minnesota for a physical.
What was that like?
That was just a bunch of men, you know, standing in line for a physical.
And what happened after that?
Then we went home, and my dad got me deferred for farming, so I never had to go to the service. And my brother went to the service.
And which brother was this?
Pardon?
Which brother?
Andrew.
And what? Where was your brother sent?
He went to the Air Force. I guess he started out in California. And then eventually shipped to England as a tour gunner on the B-17s.
So he was a pilot?
No, he's a tour gunner.
A tour gunner.
That's in the bottom of the plane, you know.
And what happened to your brother?
Well, the airplane got hit, and then they crash landed. Then he got killed. And 2 people got out of life on that airplane. That was over Germany.
2 people got out of it alive?
Uh-huh. And my dad kept in contact with them 2 people. And about maybe 10 years ago, one of them people come to North Dakota, and my brothers and sisters, we went down to Linton, and he gave us a speech, you know.
What was that like?
Interesting.
What did he talk about?
Oh, about the war, how the airplane went down, and I mean the way it was hit. The turret gunner had no way of getting up into the plane, so he just had to die, you know.
How old was he?
My brother? About 22, I would say. Having in 44, 22, yeah.
Where did they crash land?
In Germany someplace. On a manure pile.
On a manure pile?
Yeah. And then in 1949, my dad had his body shipped to the United States. So my brother is buried down in St. Boniface Cemetery, south of Kintyre.
Did you hold a funeral for him?
Yes,
when that happened?
a funeral, yeah.
What was that funeral like?
Like most funerals, you know, probably more sad than a average funeral, you know. A young man, you know, and a war, you know, that my dad didn't approve of. And
Why didn't your dad approve of it?
I don't know, but I mean, that's the way, you know.
Was it because he had German roots? German-Russian? Is it because of his heritage?
No, I don't think so.
What do you remember about how rationing affected your family during the war?
Well, when they rationed the tires for the trucks and the cars, I mean, that was a tough deal. You sometimes needed a tire and probably didn't get one. And then the sugar and that other stuff, I don't know how that affected folks. I don't even remember what gasoline was rationed too, I guess.
What else do you remember about that time? Where were you when the war was over, when the war ended?
I was at home on the farm then.
What about when they declared peace? Do you remember where you were when they finally declared peace?
I don't remember. I remember when the mail carrier from Kintyre wrote a telegram out to the farm, you know, that my brother was missing. And then I also remember when they brought the telephone out that he died. You know, I was home. The mail carrier gave the telegram to me because I think Dad was in Farragut that day.
Did you read the telegram before your father?
Well, I told my dad about it. then you got to make some kind of a funeral arrangement. So Dad went up to the priest, and then we had a service later on. And then when the body come, we had a regular funeral, you know.
How old were you at this time?
Hmm?
How much older were you than Andrew?
1 year. Yeah. About a year and a month.
Was he the only other person in your family that was drafted?
No, my younger brother got drafted.
Did he go to war as well?
I don't know if he ever. I don't know if he ever was in the service. I mean, in the war zone. I don't think so. And I'm not sure about my other brother. There was one other brother that could have been drafted. I'm not quite sure.
Was there anything else about World War II or that time that you would like to talk about? Any other observations about that time that you would like to add?
Yeah, there were a lot of young people drafted, you know. So some families had 5 people in the service. Some people had 3 people in the service.
Were a lot of those from families in this area?
Yeah, I don't remember the names, but there's a Folgater family from Kintyre. I think they had 5 boys in the naval service. Yeah, 5 of them.
Did any of them come back and talk about their experience?
Most of these servicemen don't like to talk about what they went through during the war.
Okay, we're going to move a little bit. Going to get away from World War II a bit, unless there's anything else you want to add that we didn't talk about. Is there anything else you want to add before we move on? I'd like to finish with some childhood memories that you might have. What was your most stressful childhood experience?
Yeah, I don't know how to put that. My dad was pretty tough. So if you done some work and didn't do it right, or I mean, you probably got hit, or even a spanking, you know. So you were always on guard, you know, for something.
Was it difficult because you were the oldest?
Well, that probably made a little difference. I mean,
What about your happiest childhood experience?
Well, when I got to go to high school, I mean, that I liked.
What did you like the most about it?
Well, I didn't have to stay home and work.
And what was the most adventurous thing you did as a child?
What? I don't know how to put that.
Did you have any adventures that stand out from when you were younger?
When the war started, would that go along with your question?
Whatever is what's the most adventurous thing you did?
When the war started, then in 1941 in the summer, I worked in the Napoleon lumber yard. And then that fall, the war started. And then a man come around and talked my brother and me and a neighbor into going down to Wichita, Kansas to work in sort of an airplane factory, how to rivet and work with airplane factory. We done that for a couple months down at Wichita to learn, you know.
What was that like?
That was nice, a good experience. Then I worked. Down there I found a little dishwashing job at the restaurant. Then we could buy cigarettes for 15 cents a package. And then I think my brother never went home. He went to California. Then he got drafted and signed up for the Air Force.
And what restaurant did you work in?
Oh, I don't remember the name.
Are there any other childhood memories or anything else about your childhood that you would like to add? No? Well, in conclusion, why do you think it's important to tell your life story?
Pardon?
Why do you think it's important to tell your life story?
I don't know, maybe there's some things I said that the younger people don't realize that can happen, you know.
Well, are there any other thoughts or observations that you would care to add?
don't know what I should add.
Okay. Well, you don't have to add anything if you don't want to.